Okay, so the first item on the agenda this evening is the boundary line adjustment, an easement plat showing revised lots 13 and 15 and a drainage easements over lot 12, 16, 17, and 18 in the Robin Hood Estates subdivision phase 2. So this is an already existing subdivision, and they are reducing, they're getting rid of one lot, and we'll show you why here in a second and walk you through that. But I think the major item that we looked at and our engineering department looked at was the drainage easements. So just to orient you, this is the Robin Hood neighborhood. Here's the water tower here, and then so we're going to be on Little John Circle, which is over here, and they're starting to build this home here. This is fairly recent, actually, and they're realigning these lot lines through here as well. And this Nottingham Lane is not a public street. It's really an access to these homes back here that are not officially part of the subdivision. So, and I think there's 1, 2, and I believe there's a third home through here somewhere. So I'll go.
Is that a paved road?
It is gravel, really, right now. Yeah, and that was one item too, is the access easement to the parcel behind did not match up with the where the easement did not match up with actually where the gravel drive was. So they've corrected that with this plat as well. So this is the aerial behind. And then Mike went ahead, and this is one of your drawings too. This is actually a separate sheet. And Mike went ahead and overlaid what's existing and then what's changed on top of the other. So basically everything in red are the changes. Everything in green is what was there previously. So you'll see revised lot 15 through here. This is the new boundary line for lot 15. And then where the lot line came over here before, for this lot here. So for revised lot 13, this the new lot line for lot line 13 is here, and this line goes away, and this becomes the entire lot of lot 13. So really, lot 14 has gone away.
And it's been split between the two.
Correct. And partly it's because of topography, really, Mike, isn't it? Yeah, as far as buildable area for the lots, I think it just, as they graded and came to the realization that for buildable lots, they really needed to combine the parcels. They were working with us in order to dedicate an easement over here so that the town can access the stormwater management pond that we own here and maintain. And then, as I mentioned before, they've realigned the easement here to match the gravel drive to make it, to clean up the access easement to the properties to the rear. And then also they're accurately reflecting an easement over the drainage pipe that runs behind these homes here. The old drainage easement was right here, which is inaccurate. So that needs to change in order to show actually where it's currently constructed. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
The pipe is shown with an asphalt.
Yeah.
It's where it's actually physically located, and it's not in the drainage easement. So we said, hey,
So really, it's just cleaning up a number of items and then also consolidating 3 lots into 2 in order to create more buildable lots on those 2 remaining lots. Anything else that I'm missing, Mike?
No, I think that's it. Yeah. Below the pond,
Right.
about the topography.
Yeah, could you explain that real quick?
Right, the town is responsible for maintaining that pond, as I understand it, and really steep down there. So the only real access is really down around the other side, and we had to have access, the pipe coming out of the pond right there. You have to be able to maintain the outfall and the riprap and the erosion protection at the end of it. Really didn't have a good way to get there, so we asked for that 15-foot egress easement right there.
So you'd come around this way and then come
Yeah,
back through
come
here
back through there and
to
get the
maintain that
outfall.
pipe?
So what is this
So that's the access from the road.
Mhm.
So that's for our trucks to be able to get back there. In order to maintain this outfall right here, this pipe,
Mhm.
as it goes down the hill, our trucks will have to drive through here and then come back along this flatter area. So
It's just too steep, yeah.
it's too steep, we couldn't get to the pipe through this area. So we had to actually come back through
So
and
is there a
around.
road in there now, we'll have to put a road?
So they'll be driving on, so, let's see.
It's hard to see right there, but there's a berm right through there, and I believe the access would be across the berm
Through this area.
and through that area and then back. It's really hard to see, but it's really steep,
Would be around here and then back.
yes.
Okay, got it. So they're gonna access coming off the road through lot 13, and then they'll just kind of finagle this little area
Mhm.
here to get over to the pond to do what they have to do.
Mhm.
Okay,
The
I see
pond
what you're
area,
saying.
the pond area is owned by the town.
Mhm. But this was owned by,
That's still, right, correct, owned by, RWW 35, which is the developer.
yeah, okay.
And, and really, the only purpose of this, and it's a little hard to understand, is really to just maintain that pipe,
Yeah.
the outfall of that pipe, so.
That makes sense.
But I do think that's kind of a minor piece.
I need for you to go back if you would.
Sure.
And point out lots 12, 16, 17, and 18 again.
Okay, yeah, let me go to the original,
I have that.
let me actually, undo it.
Do you see it on the,
Well, I see 16.
No.
No, we're not confused. It's okay. Thank you. You can look at this. I feel comfortable.
That's about it.
You do all this.
we found them.
Found them, okay, very good.
It's not right.
That's helpful for me, thank you. Yeah,
That makes sense now, 12, 13,
Mhm.
okay, 14.
I think I pulled this over. Okay. But you're able to look on the first sheet, the second sheet of the
Yeah.
subdivision plat, yeah. This is your best, probably reference for that, of what is existing. Yeah, very good. Cool.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, that's it in a nutshell.
Have anything, as far as this goes? Well, I don't have anything at all, really.
Excellent.
Now, well, I guess, new business stuff, but I know y'all were looking at one time about, should everything come before this committee, or is there anything that y'all can work, the admin can work on?
Yeah.
Still working on that?
We are, so I have a few slides I could run through just to kind of set the stage for the conversation, and we can see how far we get this evening. So as you all know, the subdivision ordinance really stands as, a tool, to govern the review and approval process for the town to adjust or vacate, eliminating lot lines, kind of what we did tonight, dedicating access, utility, stormwater, drainage easements. So whenever there's a easement that is being dedicated on property that gives the town or the public certain rights to be in that area, that would go through a subdivision. Dedicate public streets or other rights of way like alleys or trails. That has to be shown on a subdivision plat and then recorded for it to be legal. And then the subdivision of one parcel into two or more parcels is kind of what is governed by the subdivision ordinance. So in the subdivision ordinance, the way it reads today is that the subdivision agent, which is myself, is appointed by town council and it is considered the agent for town council to carry out the rules and regulations of the subdivision ordinance. The subdivision agent, it states that can approve single lot line revisions. So if you're adjusting one lot line on a subdivision, that can be approved by me without it going to street committee and then to town council. Lot line vacations, any number of vacations can be approved by staff without it going to this committee or to town council. It also states that the agent may consult with the planning commission. I'm not aware of that taking place. There hasn't been a situation that I'm aware of, since I've been here, that we've used that, where we've, where there's been a question about a subdivision plat and we've taken that to the planning commission. But that is allowed for in the ordinance. So currently, town council approves any public easements, whether they be stormwater, stormwater drainage, sewer, water, any type of public utility easements, any access easements that cover trails or anything to that end, and then any subdivision. So some of the potential advantages of the current review process is that council does see part of the development process in open meetings, and then but to that end, the public gets to see that review, so there's some transparency there in the open meeting process. And it does not add a lot of time to the review process. I mean, it does add some, and it takes some juggling of schedules, but because there's potentially 2 meeting dates in a month, that we're fortunate in that we can usually schedule something within a reasonable time frame. Yeah. The potential disadvantages of the current review is that it is different than most council decisions, and there's, this could be kind of a larger discussion, topic, but, to try to keep it as brief as I can, most decisions, that council makes are discretionary, whether it's rezonings, whether it's a policy, about how the town flag goes up or down. Those policy decisions are items that, each council member decides on, how they believe, or she believes that it should go, and then votes on that. Where subdivision decisions are administrative, if it meets the letter of the law of the subdivision ordinance, it should be approved. It really needs to be approved, because so it's more of a function at the council level that you would see mostly at a staff level, and so that can be confusing to the public, because they're used to council being able to make decisions on a discretionary basis. And so if a neighbor doesn't like a subdivision that's happening, the council, well, if it's not good for the community, then council shouldn't approve it, but that's not really the case. If it does meet the letter of the subdivision ordinance, it really should be approved. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
I mean, I think that's really the gist of it there, is that you almost, if it meets the ordinance, you must approve it. You would be opening yourself up to some liability legally, or some appeal beyond, you know, your body to have it approved if it met the ordinance. It's worth mentioning that none of these are public hearing items that are legally required, right? So, anytime you have these, it's not really up for public discussion, and there's really very little discretion that you have as the governing body about it. So, I mean, it can kind of put you in an awkward position sometimes voting on it.
I get that.
And, it does add more items to the council's agenda
Yeah.
and workload overall. And then a lot of the plats are fairly minor, you know,
Yeah.
and so we're seeing a lot of lot line adjustments, or easement dedications, things that can't be handled administratively under the current ordinance. And so, you know, and they are fairly straightforward, you know, not always easy for me to explain to you. But they are, like, they're not, you know, overly, you know, they're not creating 100 lots, you know, which has, you know, 5 new roads and a lot of new water line and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like I said, I think it's too, for me anyway, sometimes just bring that down to
Yeah.
where I understand
yeah,
the terminology you use and
right.
what words.
Yeah.
I get, just like this, it's simple, it's right there, where's lot 12, right there in front of me.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, we could always do a better job of outlining the different, you know, things that are changing, and we try to do, you know, to do that the best we can, you know, and there's always room for improvement there. But as far as benchmarking, just looking at some communities around us, staff approves lot line, like if you look at Radford, so the staff can approve lot line adjustments and vacations, and then subdivisions up to 2 lots. And then all larger subdivisions go to the planning commission and then to their town council for approval. In Salem, staff approves subdivisions up to 5 lots, and I think that also lot line adjustments and
Yeah.
vacations.
Yeah.
And-
And easements.
And easements as well,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the planning commission approves 6 lots or greater,
Mhm.
and any dedication of rights of way, and it does not go to town council there.
Correct.
In Blacksburg, it's a similar process, but larger threshold. Staff approves lot line adjustments and vacations and subdivisions up to 49 lots. Planning commission approves 50 lots or greater, and any subdivision variance, and that happens quite a bit there, because, say, somebody, feels like they can't meet the road grade that's required, and, or that the road width or the sidewalk width is too great, and they want to get a variance to that within the subdivision ordinance, that would have to go to the planning commission. So they do see, sometimes they do see minor subdivisions, small subdivisions at the, you know, at the planning commission, because there's just, there's quite a few rules, and they, you know, a lot of times there's variance requests. And then Montgomery County, staff approves lot line adjustments, vacations, and subdivisions up to 10 lots. Planning Commission makes recommendations to Board of Supervisors for any subdivision greater than 10 lots, and, or with, street dedication, and they also have private streets there, so that's with either a private or a public street in the county. So some potential revisions to consider would be, you know, shifting certain reviews and approvals to staff levels, and that's part of the discussion, whether it's lot line revisions, easement dedications, looking at smaller subdivisions, what's that number, lots up to 5, 10, 49, as in some of the other examples. And I will say, the 4 communities that we looked at here, they're right around us, but they also trend pretty consistently across the state with what, you don't really see too much outside of that realm of, you know, of choices around the state that we've looked at. 'Cause we've looked at Culpeper and Roanoke County and different places around the state as well. And then also, would you want to consider a shift review to planning commission for from, subdivisions of a certain size? And, or would you want it to go to planning commission then town council, like some communities have? So, and then just for conversation, as far as next steps, you could choose to do nothing and just say this is good information, but, you know, let's kind of keep it the same at this point. If there's any additional research or information that's needed, we're happy to research, you know, look into it a little bit further, come back to another street committee meeting. It could be recommended to council to refer to planning commission for further study and then come back with a recommendation. Because the planning commission has a development subcommittee that does look at ordinance, does look at subdivision ordinance changes. So this could be something that is consistent with what that group has looked at in the past. And so if you would want them to study it, then bring planning commission, then make a recommendation to planning commission, and then planning commission make a recommendation to the street committee, and then you all would decide whether you would want to move it forward to council or not. That could be another, you know, another avenue. So that's just kind of food for thought, and that's really all I had. But I did kind of want to get some information out there since I know we don't, you know, I really hadn't had a chance to do that before, so.
It seems, when I listen to that, like, we're the only ones that really don't allow or give authority to staff to say yea or nay to some simple things. And, you know, we meet twice a month, where you waiting on us, there's something that staff could probably get it out of the way, to me, you know.
And it could be changes as as simple as being able to, and that would be a pretty simple change, you know, to allow for staff to review all lot line revisions, and then also accept, accept easements as well, because we do see a lot of easements.
Yeah.
And those are items that, the staff, we feel comfortable accepting those on behalf of town, because we make sure that it corresponds with the utilities that we're accepting, or if it's a trail, that the trail is centered in the easement, and those are things that we're verifying anyway, so I do believe it makes sense for staff to be able to accept those easements.
So what if we consider, identifying what that level is where staff can just make that decision and make that revision above a certain level? Would you consider sending that certain things above, or certain items above a certain level to planning commission then?
Like lot size,
Or, yeah, where there are more complex changes,
yeah.
because they have folks who are used to the subdivisions
Right,
and.
yeah, I think, yes, and actually, once again, I'm not trying to take stuff away from the street committee, but I think there's more experience somewhere else. I mean, I'm having a hard time, sometimes I follow the simple things, I mean, and y'all have to review it anyway, correct? I mean, and like you just said earlier, that if it's about letter of the law, instead of to say no, well, you can know all you want to, but you gotta do the right thing. But then, like I say, you get to the planning commission, they meet once a month.
So their schedule is they meet 6 days after every council meeting. So some months, it's on average twice, but some months it's once, some months it's 3 times.
But they would spend more time looking into it than us sitting here for 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah, I guess just my thought is, what is best for the folks who are trying to make the changes, and where is it best handled? And I think there's some things that are best handled by our staff, because they know and understand and have plenty of capability to make those decisions. There's some things that would be a great fit for planning commission to review, because they might think of some things that we may not. But I also really like what you said about transparency. It is having it come to street committee and us just talk it out, and occasionally presenting some of those things and reporting out to council is nice for transparency. But I don't see why in the process we couldn't also have street committee meetings where you maybe just share a brief of, here's some things that staff approved.
Yeah.
If we want to maintain some transparency at a certain level to say, we've approved those, we say that sounds great, and then we can include that in our report out when we do committee reports at council. So we still maintain the transparency without having to be the decision makers and delay the process. If it's best suited for, you know, the people who, the individuals or companies who need to make those changes, for you to make the changes for them. So, do you agree?
I do, yeah. I just think, again, to me, different things move faster, you know. Somebody needs a slight, adjustment. They have to wait for at least 2 weeks, the way it is now, where they come to you, probably within a couple of days, they'll say yea or nay. But I just think we just need to, you know, what the way we're doing things. I'm not trying to get out of work, I mean, it just, you know, it's just, sometimes I think we just cause more work than we need to.
Do you have a recommendation? What would you like to see?
Well, I think, as far as, I think that staff is certainly capable of doing the lot line, you know, doing more than one lot line revision, and accepting any easements. I will say that I'm really not sure where that threshold is. I think that kind of needs to be studied a little bit more and examined to see what's right for our community. You know, whether is it like Radford where it's a subdivision of 2, you know, and then, which is pretty straightforward, and sometimes if somebody's just looking to, you know, it's usually property owner that's looking to come in and say, hey, I have this large, you know, lot, I really want to create a second lot so I could sell it to my children, or what have you, then, you know, that's something that, if it's pretty straightforward, that could be something that we could approve in-house, and that could streamline those items. Where that threshold is, where it's 5, it's 10, because those start to have different impacts on the community. Not that if it goes to planning commission, it still has transparency in that they're public meetings, and they're streamed live, and, you know, and taped, and so there is some transparency there, you know. So I'm just not, you know, that's where I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, the planning commission might have an opinion on that.
Yeah.
If we wanted to refer it to them, to ask, you know, where do you guys think that number of lots should be? You know? And just to speak to your comment about transparency, we could do the same thing, if it were a planning commission, we could do the same thing there and essentially report to them on the other plats that staff has handled, you know. Include that in the staff report, probably, or something like that. You know? Because it does get it out there, and like you say, you can kind of peek into it as you're see what's going on.
So maybe let's let planning commission weigh in and see where do they think that threshold is, where it makes sense to be really efficient and let staff handle what they can handle, and then where maybe they might want to step in and say, okay, we're just going to be your second set of eyes, and we'll review these things, and then what that process looks like after that. I think that would be a great idea. But then a second question I have is, what types of items then continue? Can you just give me a rundown of what continues to come to street committee then, if that's turned off?
It would, so it'd still be anything related to traffic.
Right.
So similar to the traffic, the pedestrian signs that came in last night, or speeding issues that come up, and issues that we're working through at a staff level, and potential proposed road design, capital projects would come to you all, before we submitted to VDOT. We would brief street committee first before taking that to council for letters of support for VDOT grant applications.
Yeah. All that makes sense in the street committee.
Yeah.
So there's still enough for us to say employed.
I would think so, yeah.
Okay, we don't want to cut off the way. Hey, y'all want to be committed, okay?
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I think that would make staff happy, and hopefully our people who are trying to get this work done happy. So can we take that to planning commission, see what they think, and then pull a process together from there, and we'll talk about the next street committee meeting? Does that sound good?
So typically, it would be, a recommendation from council to refer it to planning commission for
Okay.
further study. So that could be a recommendation
Okay.
potentially from this committee.
Yeah,
That-
okay, so we can make that, well, it's not on the agenda, do we need to,
Right.
make an adjustment to the agenda if we wanna mention
Or-
that tonight, or is it better for us to just sit on that a little
But
bit?
yeah, and if, we could plan tentatively to put it on next,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
next
okay.
meeting's agenda,
Okay.
and
We're
then,
gonna have questions.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
we don't wanna be held over.
That's good, it'll give me a chance to
yeah.
think about it.
Right, yeah,
everything we heard
exactly, and if there's
tonight, too.
questions, you know, before, if we wanna meet before the next meeting as well, to just kind of talk about it one last time.
Okay.
That sounds great,
You know,
thanks for
okay.
pulling the information
Yeah.
together,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, great,
so,
awesome,
okay.
very good.
Anything else for you? I do have one other question.
Yes.
I know we approved that process for putting up those memorial signs. Have
Mhm.
anybody else asked to have one put up? You did that?
No,
Interesting.
yeah,
Just got one, yeah.
Okay.
been the one, right on South Franklin, I just passed it today, yeah.
Just a point of curiosity, no
Mhm.
expectation, but I was just curious if anybody had asked
Yeah.
to do it.
No, yeah, not yet.
Okay.
The only other, oh, go ahead.
I just said I don't have
The
anything.
only other item that may be, coming onto your radar, and I'll just mention it, is that we are currently doing a 14-day study of speed out on Glade Road, Glade Drive, thank you. And, we've just had some complaints about speeding through there. And so we're gathering some speed data, and then we'll analyze that, and kind of, either engineering department and administration are gonna look at that and see if there's any recommendations to make
Okay,
at that point.
cool.
Just wanna put it on your radar. Yeah.
I don't have anything else.
No, I don't have anything else.
If nothing else, we adjourn.
Excellent, great, thank you.